never been at my ideal weight, the struggle is real. I got this message a while ago and I said I wanted to record a video in response to this because this is something I see over and over and over again. In intake forms, in questions, in DMs, everything. People have this ideal weight in mind and they're so fixated on this body weight. So I think this is a really good time to actually just record a full video on this. Okay, before I get into the more in-depth discussion about this topic, I need to get something pointed out first. And it's the science. And I hate this part when people come to me to talk about this because oftentimes it's not this that's affecting them, but it's something we have to get very clear on because not everybody knows about this. So when it comes to fat loss, you need to understand energy balance. If you don't understand energy balance, I'm sorry, but you are doing yourself a disservice. And people will be like, they'll roll their eyes and they'll say, oh, she's talking about calories again, she's talking about calorie deficit again, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, yeah, but until you understand this, you don't understand why you're gaining weight, you don't understand why you're losing weight, and you don't understand why you're maintaining it. When it comes to energy balance, you have two sides. Energy in, energy out, okay? Energy in, calories. Everything you put in your mouth contains calories. Get your mind out of the gutter there, okay? But it's true, okay? The only thing that doesn't is like water, but even broccoli has calories in it, okay? Now, I'm not saying you have to track calories. I'm not saying you need to get obsessed with calories, you don't. But you do need to realize that if you're gaining weight and you can't understand why, you need to take a look at both sides of this equation, especially if you're someone who's exercising really, really hard, but you can't understand why you're not losing weight. You need to probably take a look at the energy inside, right? Because you can make very small tweaks to your nutrition that will make the biggest difference. And I'm not going to get into it in this video because this is not what this is about, but very, very small changes to people's nutrition usually pay off in the biggest changes. And that's what I've noticed with clients. So that's energy in. Then you have energy out, which people think exercise. And actually exercise is like the smallest part of it, okay? So on the energy outside, it is your basal metabolic rate, which is basically all of the calories your body needs to keep you fucking alive every day, okay? So that's the first thing, and that actually uses up the most calories. Then what we have is our NEAT activity, our non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And this, quite simply put, is any bit of movement you do outside of intentional exercise. So ways you can increase this is the easiest way is increase your step count. Take the damn stairs instead of the lift, things like this. Really simple, again, doesn't need to be complicated. And then you have your EAT activity, your exercise activity thermogenesis, which is your intentional exercise. That's your HIIT workouts, it's your strength training, it's your runs, it's everything you do that's intentional exercise, which actually makes up like this much. But here's why I am an advocate for strength training and resistance training, because the point of exercise should not be to burn as many calories as possible. You should be focusing on your calorie burn outside of your intentional exercise. It's the easiest way to do it. If you want to lose weight, you want to tone up, your goal should be to build and maintain muscle mass. That is literally what you're trying to do. When people say tone up, it usually actually means lose weight while building a little bit of muscle, and that is when you will look the most toned. I can be the exact same weight and have the exact same measurements and look completely different depending on my lifestyle factors. If I'm eating a high protein diet and I'm doing a lot of weight training, I will look way more toned than if I'm just eating a little bit less. I'm the same size, but I don't look as toned. And the last thing that I'm not going to get too into is the last side of this equation is the thermic effect of food. And it basically means how many calories your body actually requires to break down the different macronutrients, so carbs, fats, protein. And it uses more energy to break down protein, which is just one of the myriad reasons why we should be aiming for a protein diet, along with all of the other things. But this would be a 10-minute video to talk about that. Right, science out of the way. Now we're going to get into the more, what I would actually say is the important aspect of this video. I want you to ask yourself, when you think about an ideal body weight, why are you associating it with that being ideal? Is it because you're within an unhealthy BMI range and you want to get into a healthier BMI range? Is it because maybe once you were this body weight, and when you were this body weight you were really happy, in which case you are actually not associating the happiness with the weight, you're associating it with a time in your life where you remember being really happy. So I have been quite a few different weights over the years. I've always been very active, but I've ranged between anywhere between probably 49 kilos and about 56 kilos, which for someone who's 5 foot is quite a lot actually. And I want to point out that I do not have an ideal body weight at the moment, and my body weight fluctuates within 2 kilos depending on what time of the month it is as well, okay? Just before my period I might be 2 kilos heavier, just straight after my period I might be the lightest I am for the whole month, right? And then there's so many other factors that come into play, like how much carb you've eaten. I could do a whole video on the scale weight. I have done a video just on scale weight and how unreliable it is, but that's not the point of this video. I get what you're trying to say here. You want to be in and around that weight range, right? And what I would say now is I am coasting in between my leanest that I've been in the last few, maybe 3 years, and the heaviest I've been over the last, say, 5-6 years, okay? I'm probably in between the two of them, maybe closer to the side of the leaner side, but I find this very maintainable, right? I can fluctuate a little bit up and down when, like, summer holidays, things like that, Christmas holidays, but it's nothing drastic and it doesn't really affect me that much. And I find this particular frame for my body is quite easy to maintain. I might gain a little bit, I might lose a little bit, but I'm in and around that and I'm quite happy with that. I get to eat out a lot, I train really hard, I have good strength, I have good recovery, I sleep well, my mood is better, I'm eating a lot of food and I'm happy, okay? But I'm not happy because I am this body weight. I'm happy because this is where I'm sitting in my life, where I'm able to enjoy my food and it's also fueling my training, and the food I'm eating is actually nourishing my body, and I'm doing things from a place of love as opposed to hate. There's so many other factors. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I weigh a particular weight at this given time. So when it comes to people attaching themselves to a particular body weight, a lot of this comes down to their association with a time in their life where they were this light, or they are playing into society's narratives that thinner equals better. And I want you to ask yourself, if you do want to lose weight, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you don't know how to do it and you can't do it successfully, hire a good coach and they will do it for you. But you need to work on what's on the inside first too. So people come to me, and when they come, they tell me they want to lose weight and blah, 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 and we work on that and that's great. But it's not so much the weight loss that causes the magic with them. What happens is they start paying attention to the food they're putting into their body. They start paying attention to moving their body every day and being more active, and all of a sudden they have more energy and they're sleeping better and their stress levels have decreased and their overall quality of life has just improved. So from a spiritual aspect, we are souls having a human experience, right? The very first level of anything that we need to look after is our physical bodies. So what's the easiest way to do that? Eat good fucking food and train, exercise. Do the things that your body needs in order to feel good, okay? That is literally the first layer. It's the first thing you need to do. If you're eating shit food and you're not exercising and you're not active and you're drinking and you're smoking and you're doing all these things that you know is shit for your body, you have to understand that you're never going to be able to improve all these other areas if you don't start looking after your physical body. So the first thing we do, and maybe that results in weight loss, and maybe that results in this fitness journey, but it's more so about these things that you adopt along the way. And when you start getting into this, you realize that the whole thing is not a rush to the finish line. It's a journey. And then you really start looking after your body. And all of a sudden you start noticing, when you start looking after your physical body, your mental health improves. And when your mental health improves, that spurs on more motivation to take care of your physical body. All of a sudden life is better. Maybe you might start noticing, I've had clients who start getting promotions in work. They meet someone that they fall in love with. Relationships improve. Maybe they were really struggling with relationships before, and all of a sudden they're finding that they have more energy for their kids. The relationship with their kids are better. The relationship with their partners are better. All of these things. And people are like, sorry, you're trying to tell me that comes from diet and exercise? And I'm like, bluntly, yes. Because when you start showing up for yourself and you start looking after yourself and you start paying attention to the food you're eating and moving your body in a way that's conducive to you actually feeling better, you show up in this world better. And when you start showing up in this world better, the world starts showing up better for you and invites more of that in. And that starts by looking after yourself, and no one is going to come and do that for you. Another thing though, when people talk about ideal weights, right, is a lot of the time we can think that we want something because society tells us that we want this. But I always ask my clients when we're setting goals is to ask yourself why 5 times, and then you'll get to the real reason why. So if you say that you want to lose weight, which when people come back to me and that's the only goal, I'm like, whoa, Nelly, ask yourself 5 times, why is that, okay? So we ask ourselves 5 times, and usually by the time you get to the 5th why, you either decide, actually, I don't want this goal at all, or you get to the real reason why you want it, right? And sometimes on a weight loss journey, people think they want it, but they start out on it and they realize that it's not in line with their values. They actually don't really want it. And sometimes there is a fear of change, because especially in relationships where you've been, say, a particular body weight for a particular amount of time, or your life has revolved around, say, going out and eating a lot and drinking a lot, and your relationship is based around that, and your friendships are based around this, it can be really hard then for you to decide that all of a sudden your values need to change and your goals need to change, and you have to start saying no to social occasions, and maybe you can't go on the piss with your partner 3 days at the weekend anymore because you have this fat loss goal. Like, there is always an element of, when you start something new, as good as it's going to be for you, you do have to leave something behind. And sometimes when people start on this journey, they start realizing, oh my God, but if I have to say goodbye to that, maybe I'm not ready to do that. And sometimes that can be the case with ideal body weights. People maybe met their partner and they had this particular life when they met their partner, and all of a sudden they start in this fitness journey and their partner feels a little bit lost because all of a sudden they're not going out every weekend to the pub and their life is changing, and maybe that's causing a separation, and that can panic people. There's so many underlying factors that are affecting why people can't get to a particular body weight. But you firstly need to understand, why do you want to be this body weight? Is it because you want to be this body weight? In which case, if it is for health reasons and you're overweight or you're obese, I'm all for the body positivity movement, but I'm not for glorifying obesity. That comes with an array of health risks, mental and physical. So I'm never going to promote that. But what I will say is, if you think you're going to be happier at a different weight, why is that? Why do you think that at that weight you're going to be happier? Is it because you were that weight before and you think if you get back to that weight you're going to feel the same way? Or is it because society's saying smaller is better? Or is it for health reasons? Or is it because you genuinely just want to fit into your clothes a little bit better, in which case all of these things are absolutely amazing as well. They're fine and they're great goals. But I think the big question here is, when it comes to ideal weight, you need to ask yourself, why am I so strongly associated with this weight? Because I used to be like, I have to be 7.5 stone. And now I'm like, I actually have no idea. Firstly, I work in kilos now, so I don't even know how to convert kilos to stone. But I have a range in and around, I sit in and around 52 kilos. And sometimes I'm 54. Sometimes I can go down to 51 or 50 and I can float in between them. And I really couldn't give a fuck, because if I'm 50 and I'm miserable, then I'm not happy. I could be 54 or 55 after a holiday and I've had the best time and I've enjoyed myself. I know I can always get back down to whatever, it doesn't matter. I understand energy balance. But it's about why you're so closely associated to that weight. So hopefully that helps.